Welcome to the Rugged Bayou Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Holman. In the podcast, we'll be discussing everyday hunting tactics, gear reviews, telling a little hunting stories. We'll also be diving in with everyday hunters and conservationists to help improve wildlife and hunting opportunities. The Rugged Bayou Podcast will start the year with our Local Legends series, taking an in-depth look at local small-town hunters that we all can relate to, from the mountains of Colorado to the swamps of Louisiana, duck call makers to outfitter guides. There's a lot to come from the Local Legend series, so stay tuned. With 2024 in the books and us starting 2025, I wanted to go over my year in review of 2024. With this being the first podcast, I wanted to talk about a first that I did during this hunting season. 2024 brought a bunch of new tasks, opportunities, and challenges my way. Starting in September, went to the mountains of Colorado chasing elk, getting all the gear and everything to start a week-long grueling adventure through the mountains. It's definitely costly if you're just getting into it. Being from Louisiana, I really didn't know what I was getting into for a week-long bow hunting trip in the mountains chasing elk. From water purification kits to freeze-dried meals, there's a lot to consider if you're just now getting into backcountry hunting. Roughly, it cost me about $2,500 to get started, being that I already had a bow, just the tags and everything that you're going to need for that week-long journey. So I wanted to go over a couple of preparations that I did myself getting ready for everything. A few key things that I tried to prepare myself for when I went on this hunt was being in shape, not slowing anybody down, just trying to be as best physically in shape as possible. I think I had 3 months to get ready for this hunt. I tried to walk at least 3 miles a day, hot conditions. South Texas sun really can take a toll on you, so I wanted to use that as my advantage in getting prepared for this hunt. I went with the Mystery Ranch Beartooth pack. It is a big pack. I found very quickly, depending on what you need it for. Mine was pretty much empty by the time we made it to the last couple of hunts, just because you don't really need as much stuff as you think you do when you're backpacking and return to camp every night. I can see it as a spike camp hunt, or if you're by yourself and you actually need a bunch of gear. But when you have a couple of people that you're going with, you can really divide the load and just don't need that much space. If I had to do it all over again, I would go with the Sawtooth by Mystery Ranch for that lighter weight. I can see now why the guys go down to the ounce when it comes to weight. So traveling wise, I did have to travel 16 hours from South Texas to my good friend Willie's house. We look forward to having him on the show, talk about mountain lion hunting in Colorado. We also had to travel another 3 hours to our destination. We did run into some tire trouble that set us back a couple hours, but we were able to set up camp and get some glassing in that first afternoon up in Colorado. We did see elk signs at first, but nothing fresh enough to really get our heart pumping. First couple of days, we're really just trying to find out where they are and kind of what the scenery looks like. My buddy Willie, he did hunt this unit before. He's been successful, but every time you go out there, it's going to be a new challenge, especially we didn't get any pre-scouting in this year, so it definitely was a challenge. But toward the middle of the week, we did start finding some elk. We actually set up on this one bull elk, like a 4x4, for at least a couple of hours, enough to eat breakfast, and he was just kind of grazing through some burnt forest. But there really wasn't no plan or no play on that bull at that time. We'd have to go through some gnarly stuff, and it wasn't right for that time. Some people will say, let's just go get them and try to make a shot, but it just wasn't in the cards for us that day. So at that time, we backed out, came back the next morning. We didn't spot anything, so we did try another spot, found some good sign, some fresher sign in there. They were in there feeding, and we thought we needed to be there the next morning to that same spot where we wanted to scout. And granted, you do have to travel to get to where we were hunting. By the middle of the week, we started seeing a lot more elk. We actually set up on an elk that was a valley away from us. There just really wasn't a play on him at that time where he was. It was pretty open, whether we came from the top of the mountain or come up through the bottom, which was pretty gnarly as far as drop-offs and stuff like that. So we decided to back out and go around and see if we can make some plays on some different elk in the area. We did run across a couple of grouse that we ended up harvesting and later eating that night. The next day, we rode our side-by-side back to where we saw a couple of elk before across the valley. Granted, you do have to travel a pretty good ways from camp. We didn't spike camp at the time, but granted, we did drive our side-by-side up, and of course, as soon as we killed the engine and look over 40 yards away, there's a herd of about 10 elk running over the the mountainside right there. We quickly gathered our things and proceeded to try to cut those bulls off, but it wasn't in the cards. We ended up walking 9 miles that day to try to close the distance on those elk, but once you get into them like that, they're pretty much gone, at least for the day. But that was some good sign that we're getting pretty close to them. It did feel good to finally get on to some elk. I would say that the last 3 days that we were hunting out of the 7, we saw 4 times as many elk that we did the first 4 days. I think we seen around 40 the last 3 days. And the last couple of days that we had left, we did get back on that herd that we seen a couple of days before on the mountainside. They're about a mile away. The only true path was to drive around the mountain and try to sneak in from the other side. As we made our way back down the mountain, we were talking about how to go about getting around on these elk coming from the top, trying to sneak down to them. I grabbed a couple of things to resupply for the evening hunt. As we made our way down the trail, 3 cow elk and a bull elk jumped the road with a cow elk standing dead middle. Of course, not having my bow in my hands because we had an hour travel to go around this mountain. I quickly opened the door, jumped out, trying to grab my bow. My wrist strap was a part of the bow, trying to get it undone, finally get it untangled, knock an arrow. The elk at the time is still standing in front of the truck, probably 20 yards away. She bumps back into the woods that she came out of. So I'm sitting there with my hey dudes on, and I just take after her. I run up through the mountains. I get about 60 yards away. As I'm creeping through there, I see her. She's going back up toward the mountain. My buddy Willie, he's ripping calls from the road, trying to get them elk to come back. So as she's making her way up the mountain, she's opening up into a clearing, and I just happen to look over to my left, and there's a big 6x6 standing probably 60 yards away. Not really spooked, just trying to figure out what's going on. He kind of is just walking away from me, back toward her up the mountain. And I gather myself, and I make my way to make a stalk on him. I get in to about 45, 50 yards is what I ranged, and there was an opening in the tree line, and the cow elk was standing on one side of the clearing, and he was making his way through the brush. As I make my way to get about 45 yards away, what my rangefinder says, I'm getting ready to pull back and wait on him to make his way into this opening. I hear a crunch behind me. And as I turn around, there's a 5x5 staring right in my face 20 yards away. This elk was a part of that group that he had came back across and was trying to find, I guess, that hot cow, or he was wanting back into that other group, and I just didn't even know he was there. Of course, he saw me, I saw him. He bolted. I tried to spin around and pull back. He ran through that other group, and they all carried up over the hill. So that was a bittersweet thing. I got to be face to face with a Colorado bull elk. Disappointed that it didn't make it happen, but I didn't deserve to shoot that 6x6. And hey dudes, first ever time hunting in Colorado. Beautiful country. Got to see places that not many people get to see. It's just amazing to experience what God has put on this earth and how beautiful nature truly is. Getting to see elk and moose and bears in their natural state. Really wasn't a lot of hunting pressure. Just a great experience to be up in Colorado bow hunting for the first time. A lot of people don't get to do it. Fewer people are going to get to do it with these new rules that they're trying to create for these non-resident hunters. But I get it. Met some great people. Met a couple of guys from Michigan that hope to have them on the show soon. Just a great atmosphere. That the way hunting used to be, where you can tell stories and not be so secretive, and just have a great relationship with nature and the outdoorsmen around you. Back to being prepared. We walked a total, I think, right under 45 miles in six and a half days. I would definitely say that everybody needs to be prepared. I wouldn't just go up there and not conditioned. Some people can do it. Being from Louisiana, the atmosphere really wasn't a big deal for me. I don't know if it has something to do with me being used to humidity. I didn't really get any low oxygen feeling or anything like that. The only time is a couple of crisp mornings. I felt like I couldn't get enough oxygen. That might just be from me personally, or it could have been having something to do with being between 9,000 and 11,000 feet in elevation. But being out there for a week in the backcountry, no cell phone service, was definitely a great experience, and I can't wait to go back. I'm going to try to see how this non-resident Colorado tags are going to end up working, but can't wait to get back. So talking a little bit about gear reviews for the Colorado hunt. I did use a jet boil. That thing is amazing. I still use it in Louisiana. Duck hunting and deer hunting, I'll crank that thing up, eat a lunch, eat a breakfast, eat a dinner in the box stand or duck blind. That thing is awesome. I went with the Peak Refuel and the Mountain. I feel like the Peak Refuel is just a little bit more seasoning, in my opinion. Other people like other things. I would definitely recommend Peak Refuel. My advice, if you want to get into backcountry hunting, watch a bunch of gear reviews, a gear list, pack dumps for these Colorado hunts. They will really give you some great ideas on what you can do or substitute those ideas for your own if you have a better way of doing things. But you're definitely going to need a lot of stuff to get started. It's not overwhelming. If you start now, by the time you get drawn for your tag, you'll be ready to go. You don't have to buy everything all at once. Your tag is going to be one of your biggest things, and then your pack. Don't short yourself on certain things. Boots, I went with Irish Settlers. They did great. I put 50 miles on them before I even went out there, and they're still holding strong today. I definitely recommend that Colorado elk hunt in 2024 will definitely go down as one of my favorite hunts, even though we were not successful on punching a tag. It was successful to me doing something out of my comfort zone, big game hunting out west with a bow, definitely under 10% success ratio as far as across the board. To get in close to stare a bull face to face in the eyes, even though I did not get a kill, I definitely call that a success. 2024 also brought in new challenges. My son just turned 8. Got him a little 243. He's now a shooter in the box stand. Had a rough go. Had a lot of predators that I was unaware of. Like I said, I work in South Texas, so I'm unable to be around my property all the time. I think we saw 6 or 7 different coyotes that we're going to try to manage over the summertime. We have at least 6 bear that I have either on camera or have seen personally. So that kind of messed up his hunting a little bit as far as being able to put corn out for him and deer feeders and stuff like that. The bears really, as soon as you put it in, they tear it up. He was able to get a shot off and hit a mature doe. He went through all the emotions of buck fever to disappointment to gratitude, because we were looking for that deer and we actually had a cold trail and was unable to successfully harvest that deer. I think, and he was honest with himself, he thinks he hit it a little high, which is great that he thinks that he's already being truthful to himself, because that's going to go a long way in the future of hunting for him. Definitely heartbreaking to tell an 8-year-old that, buddy, we can't find your deer. But he was okay about it. He was a little upset, but he understood that if he made a better shot, that things would have been different. I just hate it for him, because we looked all night. Me and him were out there till 12 o'clock in the morning, and even went back the next day with no sign. I'm glad that he's enjoying the outdoors. He loves to duck hunt. He loves to turkey hunt. He's been on me with a couple of turkey hunts. Been with me on a couple of duck hunts where we've been successful. Deer hunts, he's been with me since he was 4 years old. Now that he's been able to be the shooter, it opens up a whole new opportunities and challenges that I look forward to. I believe getting our youth involved is essential in preserving our hunting rights for the next generation of conservation and future generations of hunters. Anytime we can get the youth outside, and especially doing the things that we love to do, it's awesome. You have your little hunting partner, and y'all can just go out and kind of ask him what he wants to do and see what he says, and he'll ask you things, and it's just a great feeling to know that I'm raising the next generation of hunters and helping them achieve their goals. Because I know my son, his goal is to shoot a couple of wood ducks next year and get his first buck, first turkey. So hopefully either this next 25 season or so, I hope we get to check off a few boxes of his dreams that he'll remember forever. Because Michael Waddell said it the most, you're going to remember those times in the woods with your dad and your grandpa over being inside watching TV. So being the first podcast, I just want to be a quick introduction of what we're trying to do here. The reason for starting this podcast is really to understand and talk to these weekend warrior, everyday hunters that aren't getting these opportunities every other week, to get back to the basics, have a couple of laughs, go through some hunting stories, some tactics, review some of the newest gear, to actually just tell a story about, it could be a doe, because those stories right there mean more to that individual than, say, anybody on social media. Each deer harvested should mean something to that person, whether it's meat, whether it's a trophy, whether it's for conservation. Every time that something is harvested, it needs to be for a reason. This podcast was really just a introduction podcast that turned into a little elk story, but we have a lot coming up for the Rugged Bayou Podcast. We got a local legend series. As I mentioned, we'll probably kick that off with a duck call maker from South Central Louisiana. He has won state championships, and I've I've seen them in action. This is a pretty good duck call. Very unique, very slick, and we have a lot coming up. I appreciate y'all turning into this podcast. Like I said, we got a lot coming up. A lot of editing going on. I think in the process of editing 5 different episodes. So hopefully get that out to y'all shortly, and I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks.